How did you get along with Andre the Giant?
Loved Andre. Yeah, Andre was the type of person that if he liked you, he loved you. If he didn't like you, run. Plain and simple. Andre, he liked me because I ate all the time. He got a kick out of it. How he go, boss, you eat a lot. I like that. I mean, just that's how Andre was. I still remember one time. This was 330 pounds too, and I always flew Northwest Airlines because I was based out of Minneapolis, and I had a gold card so I could go first class everywhere I wanted. So I'm sitting in first class. I'm tired, for the night before. I had got up, got a big breakfast. So I didn't want any food on the plane, because it's a short trip. And there's like one seat left up in first class. Well, who comes on? Andre. I said, oh, you got to be kidding me. So he comes over the seat. He goes, boss, anybody in that seat? I said, no, Andre. Now, those big center things between the seats, the dividers in first class. He grabbed that with one hand. That's how big his hand was. With one hand, picked it up, pulled it out, looked at the steward, said, stewardess, can you take this? She's like, oh my God, I've never seen this in my life, And he sits next to me. I'm like, I'm afraid the plane's gonna flip to one side. There's so much weight on that one side, just with the two of us alone, And we go ahead, take off. I fall asleep. They bring some food out, and also I'm sleeping. Also get this big chop to my chest. Oh my God, his hand took like my whole chest. And he goes, boss, you want your food? I said, Andre, you can take whatever you want because I can't breathe right now. I mean, he chopped me so hard, man. It was crazy and that stuff, But that's how Andre was in that stuff. Like you say, if he liked you, he loved you. If he didn't, run.
Now, Macho Man was another guy that people seem to either have good or bad experiences with. I'm sure you may have wrestled him here and there. How was your experience?
Andre, I had no, like I said, I had never had an issue with Andre. I remember one time, I think it was Orlando, Florida, Royal Rumble, and Andre was gonna be the one to throw me out. And I said, lovely. Now, of course, back then I was young, so I was out. I was out all the time, and that's why I was out the entire night. We were in Atlanta the night before. Well, good old me's got to go out the entire night because I want to have fun. Not thinking about that, I got early flights. I just went out, came back to the room, grabbed my bags, went right to the goddamn plane. I slept my little bit on the plane, which was what, maybe an hour ride going down to Orlando. Got down there, had to go to the building, and all of a sudden they tell me, well, Andre's going to throw you out. I said, oh boy. Well, Andre came over and grabbed me. Oh, he threw me out all right. He gave me like a hip toss that I went over the top rope. I couldn't even grab the top rope to slow myself down. I had to do a flip in the entire air at 330 pounds and land on the concrete down below. Thank God I was able to land partially on my feet because I would have been dead any other way. I mean, he threw me so high. I was not. I didn't expect that. He was just so powerful. He just tossed me like I was a little kid.
I'm going to have to go back and watch that.
Oh yeah, you'll see him. He just boom, and it's like, oh wow. I was like, wow. I'm 230 pounds. He's tossing like I'm a kid.
I'm hoping things calm down. Well, they're not, and I'm in the locker room. We're on a long road trip. It's the last day. Everyone's beat. Everyone's tired. Everyone's hurt. I remember they were doing construction and like there's some leaky pipes and when that's when we had to, dress nice, and everything. And you're just beat. You're just tired. You just want to get the last match off and you want to get home. And so I don't know why. I'm moody. At the time I'm tired. I'm getting my butt handed to me in the back, with Rude and Scott Steiner and the people that don't like my dad and all this other stuff. And so I'm just sitting in my locker and Rude is standing up, smoking a cigarette, and he's talking about Kurt Hennig, his best friend. He's like, yeah, Kurt's a great athlete. I'm a great athlete, Golden Glove boxer, da-da-da-da. He goes, but I'm just here to tell you guys, a boxer will beat a wrestler every day. And as soon as he said that, my ears turned red. I was so mad, because that just goes. It's just. I don't want to hear it, right? I don't want to hear it.
That was before UFC.
Yeah, that's before UFC, right? And so I'm just sitting there. I'm going, okay. So I don't say anything. And he's like, yeah, we've done this several times, and we do this thing where I get on my all fours, and he gets on top and he can't hold me down. I escape, you know. And then when he said that, my bullshit meter went through the roof. And I don't know why I said it. I shouldn't have said it. And I just said, like, I had Tourette's. I go, well, then Kurt Hennig is a pussy. And I don't even know if you had a solar eclipse in your life. But when I say everyone was just listening to Rick and everyone was just, and I really didn't have or need anything to say. I said it because I just couldn't take it. And oh my, he got so, you're talking about my best friend. I'm thinking, you're talking about your best friend, you know? And I said, well, I got to be honest with you. He just sucks as a wrestler then, because if you can escape and all of that, then he's just, you know, he sucks. Well, he was more worried about the guy he was telling his best friend that couldn't hold him down. He was now mad that I'm talking bad about his friend. It's the old thing, like, I can talk bad about my spouse, but you can't. I mean, it's the craziest thing. Like, I can talk bad about my brother. If you say something, I'm gonna knock you out. Well, now he is now in my face. I'm in the locker room, and I'm already thinking, okay, you know, I got dress shoes on, slacks, my back's to the wall, which is okay. If he gets too much closer, I'm gonna be in his hips. I'm gonna rip this man's head off. And about that time, Sting kind of makes his way over, and you know, he's kind of talking, and Rude, you know, walks off, you know, for a second. He's thinking, and Sting goes, Eric, I've never, you know, I've never seen someone take so much shit for so long, and you know, the whole rookie thing, and you just got to keep it. He goes, but you know, dude, this is coming from me to you. Your hazing's done. You don't have to take this shit anymore. Because, bro, leading up to that, I can't tell you all the things that happened. I even had, I had twice people break glass and put them in my fucking wrestling boots. And then when I would, you know, put on a wrestling boot, you know, I had that happen twice. And I think it was Sting again. When that happened, I didn't say anything. And then I cut myself a little bit and I emptied my shoe out. He goes, what's that from? I'm like, it's the hazing. He goes, no, we don't haze like that, you know, or whatever. And he said something. So Sting kind of gave the, like, hey, you don't have to take it. And so as soon as he said that, I go, whoa, Rude. You know, no. So what were you saying that about Hennig? And Sting, he just lit up. He's like, yeah, no. Now, how did that work with you and Hennig? And he goes, well, you know, I've known Eric since he's 14. You know, I've seen him go, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And Rude goes, what? And he just got hyped up. It was like a kid in a candy store. So now the Steiners and, you know, who everyone's there, they're just dying to see Rude just, you know, make a fool of me. And to make a long story short, you know, the first time he got on all fours, and you know, Sting goes, okay, I'm gonna move my hand up and you guys go. And he moves his hand up, and I just I crack his elbow in and face plant him and roll him on his back in about 1.5 seconds. And he just starts going, hold on. I'm holding him, and I let him go, and I back up like that, you know, because again, it's not that difficult. And not because of Rude, it's just, if you don't know how to wrestle, you just don't know how to wrestle. So that, you know, whatever. So he, I thought you were gonna say 1, 2, 3, and Sting goes, oh, no, you want me to say 1, 2, 3? Let's do it again. So he goes 1, 2, 3, and I just plant him. Yeah. A matter of fact, that time what I did is I planted him, and then I moved forward like a freestyle, and I did a front face lock and rolled him like 3 times, because in freestyle you get those back exposure points 2 or 3 times, you know, and then choked him a little bit, and he's like, yeah, let's do it again. And so I said, dude, we can do this all day long. And so he got on all fours while I went freestyle and put my hands on his back and stood there. He goes, well, what are you doing? I go, well, you're such a stud. I go, you know, I'm gonna go freestyle on this neutral position, not collegiate. So let's do freestyle. He goes, oh, I'll grab your feet, I'll jump up. You know, I'm just saying that I can escape. I go, I understand. This should be very easy for you, which I shouldn't have done, because it's just taking advantage of someone that doesn't understand. So I got there so that when he did go to explode up, I just grabbed him in the hips, elevated him, separated his shoulder basically on the concrete, let his head bounce, And that was about time Sting thought he saw enough.
When I met you that day, you told me a story that you were once brought into WCW to get some advice and had a dinner with Hulk Hogan. So maybe you could also share that story because it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was flown in. Actually, it was after Owen Hart's death. He died in '99, and I was flown in to WCW for a Monday Night Raw, and Bobby Heenan was the interviewer, and they brought me in to talk about angles, and Bret Hart had set that up for me, and we had a meeting. I discussed some angles with them and what have you. I suggested that some of the things they could do to make the show more popular, and had a great visit with Bobby Heenan, who is a terrific guy. May he rest in peace as well. And then we had a dinner at the end of that, and we went to a restaurant, and Hulk Hogan was there, and there was a big table. There was about 8 of us. Bret was there. I think Bret would recall this. And I remember sitting at the table, and Hulk Hogan, he was, he was an interesting guy, Hulk Hogan. I was around him numerous times, and not one of my favorite people. I just found him to be somewhat arrogant, and you could tell the vanity and the ego of him was certainly a big piece of his personality. I kind of wish I had got a chance to know him better, because I'd like to have been more, maybe have an opinion about him based on more of an experience. But I'll never recall, or I do recall the fact that he ordered a big steak, and we're all sitting at the table eating at this restaurant, which was closed off to the public. And at the end of the dinner, he just got up and walked out of the restaurant, and the waiter came over and with the bills for the table, and they said, "Mr. Hogan's bill's here," and he just got up and walked away and didn't even pay his bill. I don't know to this day if they pursued him and got him to pay the bill, but I thought that was rather arrogant on his part. And I just have to say, in all honesty, I never had a real good opinion about him. Even in the Saddle Dome, in my last show, he did something that I never really forgot and felt really bad about. Was that when we had the arena packed, there was 22,000 people in there, and it was in Calgary in the Saddle Dome, and it was during a time when there was a bunch of young showgirls there who were a part of the Stampede, which is a great big event here in Calgary. And they were waiting outside the dressing room, and they all asked if they could get Hulk Hogan's autograph, and they were waiting. He came out the door, and they were all standing there, these young girls, 16, 17-year-old with cowboy hats on, and they were, really sweet young girls. And he just snubbed them and walked right by them and wouldn't sign it. And, I was really disappointed by that. So I took their programs that they had, and I took them in the dressing room, and I asked all the guys to sign them, and there was the British Bulldogs, and everybody was there, and they all signed them, and I took them back out, and I give these programs that were all signed to these young girls, and I apologized about Hulk Hogan. But little things like that sometimes create lasting memories, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of great memories of my association with him.
Now, they did put you with Virgil, who has had some health problems and money problems lately. Do you still stay in contact with him, and what do you think about all that, all those issues, unfortunately, with him?
Well, I don't have anything against Virgil. He was a nice enough guy. We never, it was kind of like, it was a business relationship more than anything. Virgil had a way of it was kind of like he would make stories up sometimes when it was easier just to tell the truth. I mean, that's the nicest way I could say that. And I know that he's probably had some issues. I didn't know, again, I just, I'm here for this wrestling gig and signing autographs, and somebody else was telling me that, his health wasn't good and what have you. And so, I've never done a whole lot with him because of some of the things that he has done to himself, if you understand what I'm saying, and made it where people don't want him to come. And I guess, you know, you get in a desperate situation, you get desperate situations, and I guess desperate people do desperate things. But now that I'm hearing again that he's in poor health and what have you, I said, you know, and I can't remember who it was I was talking to, but I said, you know, I wouldn't, you know, I'd be okay. I'd be okay, you know, if it will help him out, and somebody wants to book us, you know, as a team to sign autographs, I'd be happy to do it. And I mean that.
He says he was a school teacher. Do you believe that? Because some people have said they've actually researched into the school where he said he was a math teacher and there was no record of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying is that he would, you know, he made things up. He made things up that, you know, if you knew him, you know, if you knew him as well as a lot of people know him, you know, that nobody would believe that, you know, that he was a school teacher. And, you know, it's kind of like, and that was one of the things that, you know, puts you off is that, don't make stuff up, just tell the truth. But if he's in a real bad way, you know, he's not a bad person. You know, and I think some of those things he says is him trying not to, you know, trying not to look bad.
Unfortunately, you know, the stories on the Minnesota guys, you got, you know, Henning and Hawk and Rude and a guy named Brady Boone and they all went down. Was it overdose? I think so, on all of them, you know.
There's that rumor. Have you heard about this Rick Rude rumor that it was an intentional overdose because some sort of penis thing went wrong? I'm not sure if you've heard about
I did hear about that, and I want to say back then, like right after it happened, I think it was Kurt Henning, and we all talked about it, and then that's what we had heard, that exactly that, you know, he was shooting up to, you know, I mean, Rick had that, I guess you call it, demon of you know, he just wanted to get kinky as hell and get numb, and then he would, you know, actually shoot it in his pecker, and you know, like 1 out of a million guys will do that. That's just very rare. I mean, that's the extreme of the extreme. And Rick had it, and it was a tragedy. It was a tragedy. And then you heard, didn't you, that his son died in that motorcycle crash?
No, when did his son die?
Oh, man, I don't know what year, but I mean, could you imagine being his wife? I mean, Rick Rude dies, and Rick Rude Jr. dies on a motorcycle crash, you know, and I think he was kind of out of control. Maybe not, but I think he was. And if he wasn't, it was just flat sad because he was in the wrong place, wrong time. But I think he was, you know, really going fast and all that. But to have his son and him go over the years that's just terrible, man. Hits you in the gut, don't it? Just thinking about it.
Did you ever hear that he had some fetish that, like, he liked to beat up guys for trying to hit on his girlfriend? I heard Paul Bear tell this story, and it was like he would purposely kind of allow that to be set up just so he could beat up the guy.
Put it this way, I don't know if it was like consciously true, but I think he kind of did it like I mean, just like he's drunk now, he's had 7, 8 beers, and now all of a sudden he's getting paranoid about who's looking at his wife, and maybe he gave it a nudge. Sometimes is what I think. Maybe he gave it a nudge, but yeah, Rick was like that, and you know, like I said, Rick and Hawk both hit like mules, you know. Were they both the toughest guys? No, because most of the guys that are, you know, as well as I do, most of the guys that are actually the toughest most of the time are a combination of ultimate fighting, wrestling, boxing. They've done it all. And you just ain't going to be able to keep up with a guy like that in a fight. No way.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.